Bueno, estamos en directo. Hola a todos, ¿cómo estáis? ¿Todos bien? Espero que todos muy bien, espero que todos en casa. Yo soy Tiago, una vez más aquí haciendo nuestras lives semanales. Entonces, para todos los que ya conocéis a Cambly, ya sabéis que es una plataforma para aprender inglés y, bueno, y hablar con los mejores tutores nativos del mundo. Entonces, aquí lo que hacemos hoy es básicamente bueno, vamos a charlar un poco, vamos a hablar un poco de cómo mejorar tu pronunciación en, en inglés, ¿vale? Pero antes de empezar, me gustaría decir que para todos los que queráis empezar con las clases, estudiar inglés o hacer lo que queráis, aquí abajo hay un enlace donde estamos haciendo una promoción exclusiva solo para las lives, ¿vale? Entonces, es algo especial. Tenéis un 35% de descuento en los cursos haciendo clic en este enlace, ¿vale? Y también vas a ganar una clase con un tutor nativo, lo que queráis, ¿vale? Si queráis hacer una clase con Kat, nuestra tutora de hoy, podéis aquí abajo también tenéis el enlace de su perfil en Cambly. Entonces vamos a empezar aquí, vamos a ver cómo estamos. Si tenéis preguntas, poner aquí al lado y poner un like y vamos a empezar, ¿vale? Como ya sabéis, hacer todo en inglés. Entonces, vamos allá. Hello, Kat.
Hey.
How are you?
Hello, I am wonderful. How are you today?
Very good as well. Now, much better now.
Very good, very good.
So yeah, so before we start, I would like to I mean, why don't you introduce yourself for us and
Sure.
tell for everybody who's watching us a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, where you're living, because it's quite
Absolutely.
impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, hi everyone. My name is Kat. It's short for Catherine. I'm originally from Sacramento, California. That's in the United States. So I speak with a California American accent. However, currently I live in Madrid, Spain, because like you, I'm also a language learner. I'm learning to speak Spanish. But let me tell you a little bit more about that. I'm actually a Spaniard with Spanish nationality, and I've lived in the United States all my life, but I have returned home now to our home country, and I'm reestablishing roots here back at home in Madrid, Spain, where my family was originally from. So that's me.
That's quite amazing. I mean, we just for you guys who's watching, we just discovered that we are kind of neighbors. So it's quite impressive, and we were always we were neighbors before because I lived in San Francisco, so you're from Sacramento, and yeah, you already lived in Oakland as well. So I mean, it's an amazing coincidence, let's say like that.
Well, we bonded over realizing we had a favorite pizza place. So
Yes,
that's very important. That's very important.
very important. So I mean, yeah, I mean, we can talk that later. So I mean, today we want to discuss, especially if you have this experience talking with people here in Madrid. So you will be able
Yes.
to give us some examples from, I mean, from things that happens or things you listen, because it's a very difficult thing for us to practice the pronunciation and how to actually say it, the words properly. So it's quite
Right.
different the way we speak in Spanish and the way we speak in English.
Right.
So what do you have, like, in terms of tips? Do you have anything to start this conversation? What do you want to share with us today?
Well, to start the conversation, let me say this is I have a background in politics. That's what I did in California. And one of the things I did was I taught people speech and debate and basically how to carry yourself when speaking. And this would be for native as well as non-native speakers. And one thing that's consistent throughout is people get nervous when they're speaking. Whether they're a native speaker or not, the idea of being able to open your mouth and speak up can be very intimidating. It can be very hard for some because people don't like to speak. And when it is a second or a third language and you're trying to present yourself well and say your best words, it's a little intimidating. And so let me start by saying, say the same things that you would say to your friends, say them to yourself. You know, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to be patient with myself because this is a journey. Anyone who's learned a second or third language has been on the same journey, and it's okay. It's okay if it's not perfect, if your pronunciation isn't perfect, if you're struggling a bit. And what I'm finding is that people are very kind in the process. Living here in Madrid with my broken Spanish, trying to regain it, I haven't met friendlier people than the Madrileños who are right there to help me when I'm, I was in line today at a panaderia and trying to just order my muffins for the morning, and I started talking to everyone in line, and we were laughing, and I was telling them my story, and I'm speaking my broken Spanish, but hey, let's communicate, and it was lovely, and the lovely gestures I got from the people here is the same thing you're going to get in return. People are very kind when you're making an effort, so don't get nervous.
Oh, that's amazing. That's actually very true, because if we get nervous and then I feel shy, or I mean, it will nothing will happen in terms of you will not learn. You'll be, I mean, you're not talk, and then if you want to learn, you have to talk. So
right.
I always make mistakes. I still make mistakes a lot, and I will be a lifelong learner in terms of language. So it's a journey. So I have to enjoy it, the journey. So it's kind of
absolutely. Absolutely. And life's too short to be shy, so don't be shy. If you're learning English, there's a reason why you're learning it, so have fun with it.
Oh, of course, that's amazing. And that's one thing that it's, for example, we have a very different, I don't know if you notice the difference between the Spanish here in Spain and the difference between the Spanish that we talk in Latin America. It's quite difficult. Do you get it when you talk with the Latinos, or do you have more? I mean, it's more comfortable for you to speak the Spanish from here, right?
No, actually.
Oh,
So
really?
even though my parents spoke Spanish for a little while at home, they were very concerned about Americanizing us. We moved to the U.S. when I was just a baby. And so what I experienced was I had to learn Spanish by learning it like all of you are learning it. I had to take classes in school, and I had to learn with teachers from various countries. So my Spanish language influence came from Latin America, Mexico, Spain, all over. And what I laugh about now is that my accent's mixed. Sometimes my accent turns Mexican. Sometimes it sounds a little South American. Sometimes people are like, just what are you?
But that's actually quite interesting, because I mean we speak a lot with the thong. So with
the
yeah, so it's Barcelona. It's kind of we put it a
exactly.
thong in a, so it's quite difficult, and I get it everything, because I mean I was used to the Spanish there, but I talk, and I want to bring this up actually, because depending on which kind of English that you wanted to learn as well, it's an interesting thing to focus as well, right? For example,
absolutely,
if you wanted to move to the U.S., I think it's interesting for you to look for an American tutor, but if you wanted to live in London, you should, right, to look for a British tutor, because the difference in accent and the pronunciation, it's quite different from one another.
Right. Right. So I'll say there are two approaches to that. For one, you are correct that if you're learning a particular accent, it's great to work with that tutor who has the accent you're looking for. It's part of what has me studying so hard here in Spain to learn Spanish once and for all, because I want to get a single solitary accent. It might as well be from the country I'm living in. But I also want to point out that it's not a bad idea to hop around tutors on Cambly for the different accents, because even though you may be trying to learn one accent, a lot of it also is real world learning. And so you still need to understand accents from Australia or South Africa or the UK. But yes, if you're trying to learn a specific accent, especially if maybe your coworkers are speaking with a particular accent, it's not a bad idea to look for the tutor with that accent.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. That's good.
Yeah.
And so we can start maybe with one of the things that it's kind of tricky in terms of speaking, because sometimes the word it's quite similar, the way we write it or the way we hear, but it's actually different when the way we pronounce these words. So maybe the first words that we saw it here, maybe I can write it down, then we can discuss a little bit and maybe just bring some conversation through that. And,
Okay.
And the words that I'm kind of interested, it's these ones that I'm going to put it here. So it's beauty and down and Bonnie. So these kind of it's quite in some way it's kind of similar, or it's sometimes it's different, because I will give you an example for booty, for example. Sometimes booty, it's we say it in a way that maybe could, I mean, go in another direction.
Yeah.
And bone as well. I already heard a lot of people here in Spain saying bone, and it's kind of these tips in pronunciation. That's, I mean, it is interesting for us to
Right.
know.
This actually brings a thought to mind that I'd like to bring up.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
the advantage and disadvantage between Spanish and English is that we have so many words that are similar.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I've been catching my students on recently is they'll identify the word because it's also a Spanish word, or it looks very similar to the Spanish word, and that's the pronunciation they speak.
Mm-hmm.
They speak it with. That's what they stick with. And so I was taken aback at first. It's like, what am I hearing? And then I realized they're just pronouncing it with the Spanish pronunciation. And so I'm having to retrain them. When you're saying it in an English lesson, make sure you're pronouncing it as an English word.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't think of the example right now, but there was one in particular that caught my eye today.
Mm.
Yeah, but it happens. It happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that sometimes we get too stuck in a way that, or maybe we are trying to translate that word into Spanish in our head, and then we wanted to say it, and if you were translating immediately, we are going to speak with the way we talk. So it's kind of interesting, and these tips that you gave us now, yeah, could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just, before we continue, let me just give you an announce here for everybody who is watching us on Instagram now. Just go to YouTube. We're going to continue on YouTube. So if you are on Instagram, go to a bio, and then you have the link, and you go there, click on the link that we put it there, and you'll be continuing this live on YouTube. Okay? So see you soon. And well, I wanted to there's something that is actually quite interesting as well, and then it's the words that it ends with ed at the end.
Yes.
What do you have, like, what kinds of tips do you have for us in these kind of words that sometimes it's pretty tricky as well for pronouncing?
So let me tell you, if you're struggling with the ed sound, you're not alone. Not only is it my Spanish students who have challenges with this, it's really everyone. Because almost every language learner looks at the ed and they want to pronounce it as the full ed, or like it, or something along those lines. And I'm trying to retrain my students by saying, no, it's just the hard D. So liked, for example. So yeah, the students want to pronounce it as ed, and you just have to pretend it's just the D staring at you sometimes.
Liked.
Yeah, so liked.
Think about saying this kind of at the end, right? Like
yeah, just a hard D, and it's a lot of it's just practice and repetition, and that's kind of the boring answer in a lot of cases. Also, how do I train myself to pronounce it correctly? How do I break myself of this habit? It's practice. It's practice, because logic would say, you see the ed, let me pronounce it like it. That's how it's spelled, right?
Yeah.
But it's learning and retraining your brain that it's not always logical when you're trying to pronounce a word. Sometimes it doesn't make quite sense. It doesn't quite make sense. So.
Yeah, no, Sometimes no. I mean, for you maybe it is, but for us sometimes no.
The more I teach, the more I'm finding that the English language is really ridiculous. You can have one spelling for a word. It can have multiple meanings and pronunciations.
Mm. Actually, this brings from. I just saw here that they receive a question from Naomi. So hi Naomi, how are you?
Hi.
And she put it here. I am. She put it. Hola, I'm practicing speaking, but I need more ideas. It is good option to practice with myself. Hmm.
It never hurts. It never hurts. Um, but I do have a regular thing that I tell my students is one of the ways that we learn is by mimicking. When we're small children, we're learning our first language as babies. What are we doing? We're listening, we're watching, we're paying attention to what's around us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm teaching, it's part of why I try to be colorful. I wear the bright red lipstick because I want you to see not only my lips when I'm forming the words, I want you to see my body movements and how I'm just speaking when I speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the same thing for when you are trying to learn to speak. What else can you do that will allow you to mimic? If you're not talking with your Cambly tutor, what else can you be doing? I like to encourage podcasts. I especially encourage movies and series. And why is that? So it can do two things for you. One, what it can do is it can allow you to really listen to the accent. We talked about trying to learn a particular accent. For me, it's reverse. Not only am I watching series, I'm watching series that are specific to Spain because I'm trying to not only learn the accent here, but also part of the body language. Body language is also part of learning a language, I think. But it's mimicking. So when you're talking to yourself, absolutely practice with yourself because you're gaining your confidence to speak and you're feeling more comfortable with how you pronounce the words. But back it up with talking with your Cambly tutor and back it up by also listening to movies, series, podcasts, music, because your brain is listening. Your brain is paying attention to how the words should sound. When you watch a series with subtitles and you watch it in English, you're also seeing how the words are formed. And you're doing this whole circular process where listening, watching the body language and the expressions, it all starts coming together because it's not just one element of learning, but there are multiple elements to learn this.
Yes, definitely. And it's one of the things that I had written down here because I wanted to ask you if it was
Yes.
watching series and everything from Netflix and everything that is on Netflix and or movies or music, if these kind of things really help. So it's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a couple examples. One is that one of my best friends, English is her fourth language, and she speaks perfectly. And I think it is in part because she is someone who just absolutely loves watching movies and series and listening to American music. And she's developed an accent that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Fourth language because she has fun with it by watching lots of television is what she does.
Wow.
Second of all, I do reinforce with my students over and over again. And let me tell you also something else I tell my students is to learn a language, you really have to practice every day. Now that sounds tedious. However, you can make it fun. Language learning should always be fun, or we're human. We're going to say, I'd rather go do the dishes than study English. Some other things get done. What I encourage you to do is make your language learning part of your fun time, your relaxing time. Make it a habit now that's part of your studies and later part of your routine. So at the end of the day, put on your sweats, grab a favorite beverage, sit down, turn on that series or movie in English, enjoy it, relax, listen. Listen, pay attention, because this will be how you maintain what you've learned. You don't want to lose it. And trust me, it happens. I've been fluent in Spanish twice in my life. I'm a Spaniard. I'm relearning it again because I got too busy. Okay?
Yeah.
So what it does is it allows you the opportunity to really get your daily practice. And it's also not a bad idea. Because in our lives, we're all busy, we're all running around, we all have crazy lives. How nice is it to develop a habit that you allow yourself to slow down at the end of the day? So
Yes.
I think it's a really good trick to maintain your skills and what you're learning.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. And it's something that brings to another question, that in terms of if you were watching, like, okay, now I will be watching, I don't know, Netflix, House of Cards, and that would you think it's interesting to watch with subtitles in English or Spanish? What if or maybe if you were in the, I mean, the basic level, you wanted to put it on the Spanish because you will be know exactly what they are talking, and the subtitles help or not. It's good for to have on English and Spanish. So what's your opinion about the subtitles?
I'm a huge fan of subtitles. In fact, it's how I'm learning Spanish. So I highly recommend that you watch, very specifically, you watch a series or movie that is in the native language you're learning. Have it not be something that's dubbed. Because if it's dubbed, remember, we're also looking at the facial expressions, the lips, the body
Mm-hmm.
language. So you lose that if it's dubbed. Don't watch animation. Look for something live, or human bodies in
Mm-hmm.
the language you're learning. English subtitles if you're learning English. And I like to recommend to my students a Chrome add-on called Language Learning with Netflix. Have
Hmm.
you heard of this before?
No, I never heard it.
I'm going to throw on the link. I'm
Yeah,
going to share
interesting.
it. It's a free app. It's a Chrome app. It was actually recommended to me by one of my students,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it works so beautifully with Cambly, because what you do when you're not having your evening with Cambly, you are sitting down at your computer. You
Mm-hmm.
plug in language learning. It asks you, do you want to turn it on? You say yes. It'll proceed to have subtitles in both languages. So you'll be able to have subtitles in both English and in Spanish. So when you need to cheat a little bit, you can look at the Spanish. Otherwise, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at the English.
Uh-huh.
Again, you're making the connection. You're listening to what it sounds like. You're
Yeah.
seeing what it looks like written. What it also does with this app is on the corner of your screen, it's going to go line by line. And it's going to do various things, like it's saying all the lines of the actors, also phone ringing, things
Mm-hmm.
of that nature. If there's something you don't quite understand, what you do is you can pause it, you can highlight what was said, it'll pop up with the translation and
Mm-hmm.
definition of what the actors just said. And I didn't grab my note cards, but I use this. I use this to watch Spanish series. One
Uh-huh.
example is Valeria.
Uh-huh.
I love Valeria. Some of you may know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And what I've done was I've created my own note cards. So when there were words I didn't know, mind you, I was raised by a proper Spanish mother, so I didn't know any bad words before
Uh-huh.
moving here. And so I've created quite a list of words on my note cards to practice and learn, and I have so much fun with it, because then I have these note cards that I've created from my viewing, that are words that I'm hearing the actors speak, and then I'm learning the words and I'm practicing them on my own. And then what I do is I have a tutor here in Spain that I work with. I show him my cards. He says, "Put those away." But it's great because it is a way to learn all the words you need to learn and
Yeah.
have a lot of fun with it in the process.
Definitely, because I mean, probably it's something that they are. I mean, we are speaking a lot on the street, so in the daily lives, maybe we will be speaking some of these words, and or not. But
Or not.
yeah, you should. I mean, I don't know, maybe. So, I would not say it. I would delete this part, maybe. But it's interesting for you to point out this part, because actually it's a very interesting tip for everybody who's watching us here to make notes. So if you just read something or listening to music, and one word got your attention, so write it down, and then you look at it. Even if you don't have the kind of app this one is, it's very interesting one. And,
And do what works
yeah.
for you. I like to do the physical note cards. They're about this big.
Mm-hmm.
I have a student who will do that with a notebook, and she'll sit down and write all the words she's learning from that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I have another student who's very techie, and you can get apps for your phone that will
Mm-hmm.
do it for you.
Yeah.
And they have like a note card app. And you're learning new vocabulary words that may not be taught in your classroom. And I'm not talking inappropriate words, but I'm talking just words in general that might be more part of common conversation that an English teacher in a classroom may not talk about. And so it does give you the opportunity to expand your horizon when you're learning a language.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Having the notes, so it's feel free, guys, to do whatever you think it's best for you. If you're techie as one of her students, you just pointed out having apps and all those things, but very good and no notebooks with your pen or pencil. It's perfect for you to practice these kind of writing down and going to Google and Google it to discover the definition or more vocabulary related to that word. I mean, it's infinite way of learning, and if you are just writing down one word, you can actually discover a lot of vocabulary related to this word.
Exactly.
It's I like to do that. I did that a lot actually when I was living in, because when I went to, as I was saying before to you, when I went to California to study English, I had my small notebook that I was everywhere I went with. I was with a notebook, and I like to I wrote down every single word that I was walking around the streets, and I had like a very big billboard with doing marketing for something, I don't know. And then I wrote down one of the words, and when I by the end of the day I was going home and I was researching and doing all of that. So I was kind of forced to immerse myself in the culture, and to learn English and talk in English, and I mean whatever I look to, it will be in English. And I learned a lot on that. But it's those little things like writing down words and asking for help. It's a very good. I mean, I'm lost. I don't know where I am. In the first week, I was like, okay, I'm the center of San Francisco. I don't know where I am. It's kind of. I need to go back to the metro station to go back to Berkeley. So what should I do? And I need to ask someone because I didn't have the phone, and I was like, it's pretty amazing if you ask for help on the streets. It's one of the things that I wanted to point out here as well. Ask for help, even if you know the things. Just ask for help. Maybe it could be an interesting way to learn a new vocabulary. What do you
Exactly.
What do you think about that? Might be as you were saying in the you did it before in another day.
It's exactly what I did this morning.
Yeah.
Is we were all in line waiting for our bread, and a man just walked into the shop. And so I said, "Perdona, señor, estamos en what did I say? En la línea." And then he went in anyway, and I turned to the group, and we're all standing in line, and I'm like, lo siento, estoy aprendiendo a hablar en español, y no es, ¿qué es? No era correcto. And they were saying, oh, es fila, or what was the other word? But they were correcting what I said. Because I was asking them, I said this wrong. I know I said this wrong. How do I say it correctly? So they corrected me, and then we all started laughing, and we all started chatting, and we're just happily waiting for our bread. It was nice.
Yeah.
You'll find that people are just friendly.
Yeah.
I think especially now, people are just so happy to be out again and to talk to someone, and it's lovely. It's lovely.
That's true. That is one interesting thing. So everybody who's watching us, please put it here on the comments. In your country, you feel comfortable talking with someone and from another country? If someone goes with you in a bakery and asks for help, would you be comfortable speaking their language, or just giving them what will be your thoughts on that? I'm curious about what people actually, because I saw that someone from Bogota and Spain and Panama. I mean, we have people from different countries, and
how wonderful is that? I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite an interesting thing to see it here. I know a lot of people from a lot of different countries, so I'm kind of curious about if people are willing to help. So if they are willing to help, probably it's because if they ask for help as well, they will. I mean, the people will be nice to them as well. So it's.
I think it's pretty easy, and my perspective is this: is being a foreigner in a new country, I'm finding everyone here is treating me with so much love and kindness. I've always been the person back in my home that I was always happy to help someone who asked questions. And talking to my students on Cambly from all around the world, I'm finding that, you know what, we really are all the same. People, for the most part, are pretty amazing. and you shouldn't be afraid. For the maybe one person that'll look at you funny, a million people will be happy to help you.
Yes, of course.
People are great. People are really great.
I'm totally agree with you.
Yeah.
This brings to me another question that I have, and it's something that it's interesting. Do you think that since you were here, especially that you were here, it's an amazing. And do you think that the Spanish accent, especially here in Spain, this is I'll be talking more specifically here in Spain because this where I live and where I know a little bit more about the culture. But do you think the Spanish accent, talking and speaking in English, it's a bad or a good thing? Do you think they need to be more worried about the pronunciation and speaking the words correctly, or it would be more like, okay, don't necessarily need to do that. You just need to speak in a way that people can understand you. So, what is the thought about the Spanish accent? And
I am the absolute wrong person to ask that question. Because I grew up with a Spanish mother who was learning English as I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And I remember my friends used to come over and she would talk to them and they'd be like, "What language is your mom speaking?" And I would tell them, "Oh, that's her English." Because her accent was very, very thick. Mm-hmm. So my response is I have to really pay closer attention to my Spanish students because I don't hear an accent. To me, it's perfect because my mother grew up with a very thick Spanish accent, which I thought was perfect English in my mind because that's what I heard every day. And it's beautiful besides. So I guess let me say this. First of all, don't worry about your accent if you're Spanish because you know what? You have that beautiful accent that all the Americans are going to be like, "You sound so wonderful." So that's the first part. The second part is you can be a little thick sometimes, but this is why we're on Cambly, right? Because you're going to have the opportunity to work with your tutor and really work on the pronunciation of things to make sure you get that D instead of the ED, to make sure that Spaniards, for example, we laugh because sometimes they want to say the when they see the C, and make sure let's correct you as we go. Let's make sure you're breaking that habit when you're speaking English, so it sounds more like you're an English speaker as opposed to speaking with your original accent. So you can work with your tutor to lighten the accent, make it sound proper as you pronounce the words correctly. However, if you still have some of your Spanish or Hispanic accent, just know how beautiful it sounds to the rest of the world, and it's no big deal. It's okay.
Definitely. I definitely agree with you. It's something that I wanted to bring up because I have a younger brother, so he's just turned 18 now, and then he's learning English, but he's super afraid of talking and speaking with anybody because he thinks he needs to have a perfect accent to speak with someone. And he's always kind of shy, and because he don't want to speak because he thinks people will make fun of him. And I was like, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to talk, right? Just talk and practice, and don't need to worry about it. And because he's too, and it's not just him. I realize there's more people. They're afraid of talking because they don't have the kind of accent that they think it is supposed to have. I don't know. So it's kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a way that's why I asked you, because I really need people to understand that they're not natives, and if we go to someone else, we have an accent different from the natives, and it's perfectly fine.
Right. But I understand where he's coming from because being a Spaniard, I land here and I'm thinking I need to be speaking with a perfect Spanish accent. And you all have heard me try to pronounce things. I'm not doing perfectly yet. I'm still learning myself. And it's okay. Again, it's okay. Because as long as you make an effort, people are going to be happy with that.
Yes. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Don't strive for perfection. Strive for, I'm going to be better tomorrow than I was today.
Definitely agree with you. It's something that we need to focus on that. It's something that if you just practice it, write down those words. Just make sure to have those. I mean, to watch a lot of movies. We here in Spain, for example, we tend to watch a lot of the movies, so we are not necessarily watching how people are or how it's actually pronounced the word. So we tend to translate everything to Spanish, so it's quite bad. And
I'm embarrassed to say I'm part of that history.
yeah,
my father was an actor here in Spain.
all right.
And I'm sorry, my grandfather was an actor here in Spain. He started in 1922, and after the war, all movies had to be in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And so Hollywood was a big thing. The Hollywood movies were coming over. He opened one of the first companies that did translations into Spanish. So not only was he the voice, but he was also an actor.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, but that's an important point to consider. Also, is in here in the Iberian Peninsula, a lot of Spaniards haven't had the chance to advance their English skills for that reason. A lot of our movies are still dubbed today into Spanish.
Yeah.
It's changing, but it hasn't completely changed yet. However, you look at other countries such as Portugal, and that's why I say Iberian Peninsula. In Portugal, a lot of my friends from there speak excellent English. Again, why? Because the movies didn't get dubbed.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my friends from Portugal, from learning it in school to being able to have access to watch it on television, their English is really good.
Yes. It's one example. Actually, Portugal is a much better example because it's right here. It's like the neighbor, so it's quite
we're neighbors.
close. And but one example that I thought, because I have a friend of mine, he's living in Norway, and he got married with a Norwegian girl, but she speaks a English that it's perfect. So I went to her. I was like, okay, so how on earth you on Norway you learn to speak English like that? And she said, like, it's not just me. Everybody here speaks English as probably almost native. It's almost this first language. It's like
exactly.
And I would say, okay, so you guys have horses and speak in a lot of different places. And she was like, no, a lot of the things on television are in English. So we watch a lot of things on English since we are kids. And I was like, okay, so just like that. And she, yes, just like that. We're very used to English since we are kids. So and Norwegian and English was like, okay. And if you go there, it's actually true. Everybody speaks a perfect English, and it's quite amazing. Actually, it's not a very good example because they don't have like, okay, if you listen to them talking, it's like, okay, they are not from U.S., they are not from England, but anyway, they are speaking a perfect English. So where on earth you're from?
Right. How did you do this?
Yeah, so it's an amazing thing. That's why one of the things that I wanted to bring out the movies and watch actually, as we're doing with the Spanish movie series now. There's some amazing ones, and it's good to watch in a native language. So if they did it in Spanish, watch it on Spanish. But if they did it in English, watch on English or French or whatever. I mean,
exactly.
It's not just the Hollywood, because we tend to think about Hollywood a lot. But
it's not just Hollywood.
Yeah, we have a lot of very good movies from Europe here, a lot at different parts of Europe. And
oh my goodness, yes.
In Latin America as well, like a Mexican soap operas are amazing, and
oh yeah,
they're super famous, and it's huge. So it's the thing that practice with the language that they're doing in the first place, right? It's something that I think it helped me, and so it may be one of the tips for the people here as well, to, as you said, to music, movies, all those kind of stuff. Podcasts, you said podcasts, right?
Podcasts, and let me speak to that for a moment too. Yeah. Is the movies are great, the series are great for so many people. However, I have students who are of a different mindset. You know, I really need to focus on my business, and I really need to focus on things relevant to my field. And so how do I do that? And what I encourage them to do, if you're really going to not do it, if it's a movie or series, look for TED Talks, look for podcasts, things in your industry, things that you want to learn more about, because whatever it takes to get your attention, do it. So YouTube has a feature where it'll have the subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
Use it and listen. And if that's what it's going to take, listen to the things that are relevant to what you want to learn. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody fits in a box. Sometimes you have to be very creative about how you go about it.
Yeah.
And that's another approach. But the auditory, the listening is critically important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I just saw something here. Maybe we can do this question for one of the viewers here, and
Sure.
so it's from Sandra. So hi, Sandra, how are you?
Hi.
And she put it in a way that actually it's very interesting. I'm quite curious about to see what you will be answering. So she put it: how can I lose my fear when I start the conversation with someone native? I freeze. It's insecurity, I think. So, what do you think if she's kind of afraid when like this to lose this fear?
You're human. When I moved to Madrid, let me remind you, I'm a Spaniard, Spanish-speaking parents. I moved to Madrid. I didn't speak for 2 months. I went to the grocery store, bought my groceries, smiled and nodded, left. It's human nature, but there is no benefit to being shy. Life is too short to be shy. So it's okay that you're feeling this way, but also acknowledge that you need to step out of your box. You need to sometimes get uncomfortable to find your success. So what's it going to take? Again, this is where Cambly is great. I love my students because we were talking about this, how to start the conversation tonight. And I said, I like to start by, I tell stupid jokes. I get the students laughing. I get them talking about random stuff because I want them to feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Be comfortable in the fact that you're learning, because you know what? Wow, look at you. You are out there. You are making an effort. You're really trying. And you're speaking another language. They're not. So you're already like up here. And be proud of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be confident. And sometimes what it's going to take is just practice. Just practice. Talk to your Cambly tutor. Find a friend who is willing to work with you and have conversations. Before I moved here, I had friends that we would do like video chats like this. And it's like, okay, let's just talk a little bit so I'm not terrified. And I was still terrified when I moved here, but not as terrified as I really should be or was. So it's a process. But ultimately, find your success, and you're going to be a great success. Yes. Take that step. Just step out of the box a little bit.
Yeah. Don't force it, right? Don't be like, okay, I need to start. Maybe just say, hey, hello, how are you?
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Just the basics, right?
Yeah, no need to terrify yourself the first attempt, but just start trying. Just start trying. And that's what it was for me, is I started saying hello to people at the metro. I started saying hello to the people at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And now my Spanish is still broken, but now I'm cracking jokes with people in line at the bread store. So it's better. It just takes time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that I learned with, I forgot who told me. I think it was one of my tutors when I was living in San Francisco, and they said to me, because when I arrived there, it was kind of this. Okay, I don't know. I'm kind of afraid of talking. I'm not going to say anything. And on class, this tutor, she said to me, just imagine this person that you're talking with is speaking your native language. So you will be much more comfortable because they will not be speaking perfectly. So just imagine that. And then
exactly,
you will make fun because you will imagine this person's face, like talking with your native. So it will be much more fun. So maybe it's a thing that helped me as well. One of my tutors said to me. And, it helps actually because it's quite fun actually. Because when you realize, okay, so maybe if she talks something that in Spanish it will not sound like me. So yeah, well, it's interesting. It was a good tip for me. So maybe it can help another.
Good. Yeah.
So to imagine the person that you're talking with talking in your native language. So
Mm-hmm.
could be
Absolutely.
interesting. Could be interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And well, maybe we can do like what else do you, maybe one tip, maybe we can finish with this session with some other tip, and what do you really think about it is important to share, and for the people who is watching, they already know, like, okay, they need to watch movies, they need to make notes, they need to to watch the movies on a native language and
Mm-hmm.
make notes, talk with people, don't be afraid. But there's something more that you, what else do you want to share to finish? Like, so first, to finish this live, what else do you think it's important for?
I think it's important to reach the point that you're thinking in the language you're learning. And this is an interesting point. A friend of mine asked me recently, he says, "Well, are you dreaming in Spanish yet?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he says, "You have to get more in your head. You have to reach the point that when you are, for example, thinking of, okay, today I have to go to the grocery store, I have to go to the bank, stop doing that in your native language. Flip to English and try to talk to yourself in English. You've got to get to where it is in your head. It is a part of your being and your life, so that it is becoming more a part of who you are. And I think that's also an important tip. And I learned so much from my own friends because they're reminding me regularly the things that I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
My students remind me often of the things that I should be doing. But I think the very most important tip overall is you really have to practice every day.
Mm-hmm.
And let me remind you, I'm a Spaniard who's been fluent in Spanish twice in my life. And because I got busy, because, I had a career and stuff to do, important grown-up stuff, I stopped practicing my Spanish, and I've almost completely lost it. It's like scrambled eggs in my head. It's in there. I just don't know how to pull it back out again.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do is, for all the hard work you're putting into learning this language, you need to find ways to incorporate it into your life on a daily basis. And again, that's where watching movies and series is great, playing your podcasts, dance in the morning to English music, but have it always be a part of your daily routine. And that way it'll stay fresh in your head. And of course, practice with your tutor on Cambly, because for all the listening you're doing, you want to be giving back and practicing verbally, because you want to show that, okay, I heard that yesterday. Now I know how to say it, and I'm going to use it with my tutor. And that's the same thing I do with my tutor, whether he likes it sometimes or not. But that's how we do it. So
that's true. Wow, that's an amazing just finishing line. It's quite amazing, really. So yeah,
I think I have so much fun with my students because I'm feeling the same thing all of you are.
uh-huh.
We're all in this together. We're all language learners, and we're all going to be successful. We're all going to do this.
Definitely we are. And
yeah.
so for everybody who's watching us, if you guys wanted to have like a conversation with Kat, and use the minutes from the promo code that we're offering here on the description, to use these minutes to talk and have a class with her, the link is here in the description. So make sure to click on that and look for her. She will love it to have more Spanish people and Spanish speaking people on
absolutely,
students, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, it was amazing to have you here. Thank you very much, Kat, for your tips, and for
absolutely
for having us here, for your time. It was amazing, and
it's been a sincere pleasure. Hopefully, I can help somebody.
Yeah, I think it is, because I can already say here, like Andrea, she put it, I love it, so it was amazing. So it was amazing. And so everybody, so if you want guys to use the code and get this promotion that we are doing just for a live session, so make sure to click here, because we will be live just for 3 hours from now. So make sure that you get this promotion, 35% off on our plans. So make sure to use it. It's a pretty good deal. And we're going to see you guys next week. If you guys have any questions, more questions, just put a like here, put it in the comments, and let us know, and then we do our best to answer and and help you guys with everything. So thank you guys very much for being here with us, and we see you next week. And thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so bye bye, guys. See you.